Foundation is going to be talking tonight, even though we advertised it as Liz, but Tui's the powerhouse behind Liz, I believe. They're gonna, it's a double act. So wonderful. I'll hand you over. Thank you.
Kia ora tātou. So I'm Tui and I'm Innovation Lead at Burnett, and I've flown up from Wellington today to be here with you all. I'm the warm-up act before we go to the main course, which is Liz, and I'm going to be running the slides. Hopefully you won't set it off, but did just want to make a few opening remarks before we get going. So let's take a deep breath. It's late at night and a young man is struggling to fall asleep. They're worried about their health and in particular a recent sexual encounter, more so because they're not out yet and they're not sure how they feel about everything. So they get out their phone and they start asking AI. Another person has been waiting on blood tests results and they've come back, but it's really hard to understand them. So they take a screenshot, upload it into AI and ask them to tell it what it means. I've done that and it's actually really good. It tells you in quite a good way. Someone has just started a new medication. They were given information at the clinic, but later that evening they feel something unusual. They feel different and they're anxious. They don't want to overreact, and they also don't want to go back to the doctor. It's an expense if they can avoid it, they will. So they open an AI assistant and they ask, is this normal? AI, artificial intelligence, is rapidly becoming the primary entry point for search, particularly for sensitive and complex queries. Traditional search engines still command a large share of the volume for the moment, but that behaviour is changing quickly. For many people, especially those navigating stigma or uncertainty, AI is becoming the private front door before they ever speak to a clinician, counsellor or community organisation. AI is rapidly becoming part of how people make everyday health decisions, and this matters for the important work at Burnett and the people and the communities that we serve. So it's on the side, but the impact of AI is not just on the demand side. I'm not sure if you've been asked by your doctor surgery or informed that they're now using AI. A doctor sits down at their desk, ready to start their day, and the first thing they do is turn on their ambient AI scribe. The first patient arrives and the AI is listening, generating structured clinical notes for each patient, presumably enabling the doctor to free up more time to spend interfacing and talking with you. So even if you aren't using AI yourself, AI is increasingly present in health contexts. But if we go back to our young person at night, seeking information on their own in the middle of the night, whether the answers they received from their AI search reduced their anxiety, gave them assurance, reinforced their stigma, or sent them towards care, we almost have no idea. Not passing a judgment on that, just saying this is where health is happening. So rainbow communities have always been early adopters of communication technologies, from bulletin boards to online forums, peer networks. Digital spaces have often been where safety, connection, and information were built first. AI is likely to follow that same pattern, but there's one important difference now. Earlier platforms connected people to each other. AI produces answers, and those answers carry authority. Internationally, AI is already supporting anonymous sexual health information, prevention decisions, symptom understanding, identity questions, and service planning. So across the HIV response, this activity is emerging in three main areas: conversational tools, providing confidential guidance; predictive tools, identifying prevention opportunities and service gaps; and clinical decision-making tools. Most of these are still early-stage pilots, but the signal is clear. AI is already part of the sexual health response. The opportunity now is to ensure that these systems reflect the realities in the communities here in Aotearoa, rather than being designed elsewhere and adopted later. Very quickly, this is Marvin, one international example from Canada, which is proclaimed as the world's first HIV chatbot, supporting people living with HIV between clinical appointments, providing confidential guidance and so on. But I also want to acknowledge Market Body Positive and their development of an HI chatbot for the New Zealand context. Chatbots themselves are not new. What is new is that they can now understand open questions, respond conversationally, and support people between clinical interactions rather than simply directing them to services. It signals how conversational AI is beginning to move from education into ongoing care support. From a local context, Aotearoa still is within reach of zero HIV transmission. Our biomedical tools are first class. We have highly effective prevention. We have treatment as prevention, and internationally long-acting prevention technologies are emerging. The constraint is no longer primarily clinical. It is behavioural, social, cultural, and increasingly digital. All of this is why Burnett has stepped into this moment, and I have gone ahead and stealing some. Thank you. Stealing some. So people are beginning their health journey in search engines, chatbots, and private browsing sessions. This shift matters deeply for the communities where privacy, identity, stigma, and safety shape how and whether people seek support. We could wait to see how that plays out, or we could step in and shape it. The question is not whether AI will shape information, it already is. The question is whether we shape it deliberately, safely, and together. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you, Tui. Kia ora koutou, ko Liz Gibbs, toko ingoa. It's my pleasure to head up the Burnett Foundation and lovely to be here with you tonight. So thank you, Tui, and Tui is our innovation expert. I'm not a technical expert by any stretch of the imagination. But Burnett has launched an innovation challenge, which is, I think, a really structured and catalytic mechanism to bring fresh thinking and genuine innovation to the mission of eliminating HIV transmission and addressing stigma and discrimination which our communities face. And also supporting those that are living with HIV with dignity. We ask, if AI is becoming the new front door to health information, who is designing that door? And with all of these in play, the importance of shaping that front door becomes even clearer when we consider who still faces the greatest friction accessing trusted prevention, information and care. The remaining barriers to zero transmission increasingly sit with priority audiences who experience the greatest friction accessing prevention, information, testing and treatment. And unfortunately, that is still Māori, Pacifica, migrant and rural populations are overrepresented in that. So we're really seeking to address that in our innovation challenge. As AI becomes part of how people navigate these decisions privately, it creates an opportunity to close gaps that traditional service pathways have struggled to reach. All of this is why we've stepped into this territory to meet our communities where they already are and continue to support them with the care that Burnett has delivered for over 40 years now. The Innovation Challenge invites technologists, innovators, developers, designers, community members, community organisations, basically anyone that is interested in this space, to propose an idea that could improve HIV prevention and get us to zero transmission by 2030 or faster, which is our cross-government commitment in Aotearoa. Support people living with HIV, reducing stigma and discrimination, and we're seeing that increasingly, especially online, and improving access to trusted sexual health information and services. So selected teams may receive development funding of up to $30,000. It's not a huge amount of money. Sometimes when you've got less, it makes you think harder, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And develop their proposed solution to build and demonstrate an early stage prototype or proof of concept. And we recognise that we don't know what we don't know. So the purpose of the challenge is not only to explore ideas already identified within the HIV sector, but also to invite new thinking from people who are working at the frontier of technology, design, innovation, and our communities, of course. So applicants may use opportunities or possibilities that haven't yet been considered within our response to HIV. And while the funding available is modest, the ambition of the challenge is not. So why an innovation challenge? Because AI, as our previous two speakers have already said, is moving super, super fast. And the terrain is still forming, and this has a greenfield opportunity. We could have commissioned one provider to build us a solution, but actually instead we wanted to prompt and provoke new thinking and new solutions, and we certainly don't have them ourselves, so we're really open to encouraging those. So this would have been a controlled and narrow way to approach this, but instead we want to open up the possibility and the innovation and the creativity. A challenge model allows us to cast a wider net and to surface unexpected capability and to test multiple hypotheses and build an ecosystem, not just a product. And in a fast-moving environment, the risk is not experimentation, it's locking into yesterday's solution. So it enables us to become, hopefully, a catalyst for change and to benefit our communities. So the journey hasn't been straightforward. We're learning as we go. We haven't got all the answers by any stretch of the imagination. But HIV sits at the intersection of privacy, behaviour, identity, stigma, discrimination, migration, and trust, and other things too. And the HIV response operates with one of the most sensitive areas of public health. So communities affected by HIV can face real harm if personal information or behaviour or identities are exposed or inferred through digital systems. So AI introduces both opportunity and risk. And while it can improve access to information and services, it can also create new vulnerabilities through data collection, inference, or misuse. Solutions supported through the challenge should demonstrate careful attention to protecting trust and confidentiality and minimising data collection and inference risks, safeguarding sensitive information, respecting cultural authority, particularly thinking about Māori data sovereignty as well in this space, and our community values. And this makes it one of the hardest environments in which to develop a digital tool. But that's exactly why innovation here matters, and matters so much. So to help us navigate this, we've appointed a really great set of independent advisors from our communities, and they're cross-disciplinary from Māori and Pacifica, governance, public health and lived experience, and they're shaping the architecture within which the challenge is operating. So the advisory group helps us stress test the design, to expand the lens, and lastly, to seed the ecosystem. And so this is the first wave of relational infrastructure that we're trying to build through this challenge. So it's not just a one and done. We're hoping to build a ripple effect through this work as well. And it signals to the market and innovators that this is a serious activity and that we're taking it really seriously and credibly. We've got guardrails in place because trust is absolutely imperative, especially when we're working in the context within which we're working. Before launching the challenge, we invested in building robust guardrails as well, supported by our advisory group. And these include privacy by design, data minimisation, care around data management and monetisation, and active management of inference risk. And in an HIV context, these are absolutely critical so that we're managing that risk as closely as we possibly can. But also we're informed by international standards requiring meaningful involvement of people with lived experience living with HIV. So we're seeking cultural safety and respect for Māori and Pacifica data sovereignty within this as well. So we are also, wrong page, sorry, I'll just keep going. One of the things that makes Aotearoa distinctive internationally is our ability to bring Indigenous perspectives into technology design early. And that's, I think, a real wealth and depth of experience that TUI particularly brings as well in that space. There are tensions in this space. Innovation is not clean or linear. It's full of tension. First, trust, privacy and cultural care. There are positioning statements that shape what is possible. And at the same time, we're not running a theoretical exercise. We need tangible, workable solutions that advance zero HIV transmission and reduce stigma and discrimination. And ideally, we want to get those to scale. In previous innovation challenges that TUI and I have run, we initially did seed funding, got to proof of concept, and then we took an equity position in a really amazing solution around wearables, supporting people with early stage dementia. So it can be a really viable business proposition as well, if it's managed well. And of course, failure is quite high in this space as well, but fast failure is also important, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. There is tension also around the commercial position. At this stage, we're not, the people that come up with the Innovation Challenge solutions, they will retain the IP. Later on, maybe next Innovation Challenge, we'd like to take equity positions, but I think we just really want to seed the thinking at this stage. But this is also part of a wider opportunity for New Zealand Inc. Challenges are time-bound by design, and acceleration unlocks creativity. But we can't move faster than our communities can travel. And also there's fourth sector interest. HRV is a space filled with deeply committed people, and that is a strength, and it also creates expectations, quite rightly. How we hold these tensions defines the integrity of the programme, and we're very, very aware of that. Privacy is also an issue, and that is another tension. People say they want privacy, and I'm guilty in this regard, and they do, but behaviour in digital environments often tells a different story. People rewrote using passwords over and over again, not changing them, and it creates risk around access to information and social credentials. People paste blood tests onto chatbots for interpretation, and they leave default shared settings untouched. So in high stigma health contexts, that behaviour really matters. So this creates a dual responsibility and highlights some other important things at play here. First, the need for education. Digital literacy does not equal digital safety. The second is cyber resilience. Threat modelling, penetration tests, secure architecture and monitoring are foundational. And we recognise that we are, by design, designing for dignity, but we must also design for reality. So there is a second opportunity here, which is a global opportunity. Aotearoa may be one of the few places where it's realistic to test privacy-first approaches to AI-enabled sexual health support at a national scale. We have a clear elimination goal. We have a trusted community, organisations. We have strong cross-sector relationships. We also have a manageable population scale and leadership frameworks grounded in te tiriti and kaupapa Māori approaches to data and care. If we do this well, Aotearoa could become an international reference point for how to design safe, culturally grounded AI-enabled prevention systems. And this creates benefits locally, and it positions us globally. So there's a wider opportunity here. Around the world, health systems are looking for models of trustworthy, privacy-first AI in sensitive settings. And if we can demonstrate the approaches that work here in Aotearoa, they will be relevant internationally. Historically, public health systems have built services, but today health decisions are increasingly shaped before people ever reach these services. Searches change how people access information, and social platforms change how people find belonging. AI is now shaping how people make decisions, and people are increasingly asking questions they've never asked anyone else before to AI. So increasingly, they're acting on what they learn from AI. And this innovation challenge is about helping them shape and helping us shape that decision-making environment while it is still forming in an ethical way. Corporates and businesses such as yourselves in the room are increasingly thinking about AI as a productivity tool, but it's also becoming part of workplace cultural infrastructure. And staff are already using AI to ask questions about identity, health, relationships and support. And in some cases, it's the first place people go to before speaking to HR. That creates a growing organisational interest in whether these systems are safe, inclusive and trustworthy. And there's also a workforce wellbeing dimension to this shift. Employees are already using AI to make sensitive health decisions privately, including sexual health and identity questions. And most workplace wellbeing strategies do not yet account for this behaviour. So part of what Burnett is doing through this Innovation Challenge is helping to ensure the next generation of digital wellbeing environments are trusted, privacy first and culturally based. There's a role here also for business, not only as supporters, but as partners in shaping the environments where people are already making decisions about their health. And we really welcome collaborators and partners to work alongside us. The more we can do together, the better, which I think our first speaker spoke to as well. So we're trying to create an opportunity to stand alongside a national effort to shape how artificial intelligence supports dignity, prevention and access to care. And the leadership really matters, especially at a moment when technology is moving faster than most policy environments. The way we have framed this challenge opens a strategic question. Could this model evolve towards impact investment? And even modest equity positions can create long-term sustainability and mission alignment. So applications for the challenge are now open. We would love as many applications as possible. That would be a lovely problem to have. They close on the 26th of April. You can see it all on our website. In the first year, it's pretty modest. As I said, we've got 2 grants of $30,000 to provide to people that are interested. But in closing, essentially, we're trying to, through this innovation challenge, to set early infrastructure work for AI, mediated for well-being. It's mission-aligned innovation in one of the most sensitive public health environments in this country. It's also capability building for future interface between communities and health information. And rainbow communities have often helped shape the future earlier than most people realise. So if we help shape this space now, Aotearoa has a real chance to become the first country in the world to eliminate locally acquired HIV by 2030. And we'd be the first in the world to do that, which is a phenomenal challenge, but also a phenomenal opportunity. And we want to do that in a way that protects dignity as well as health. And if that happens, it will not be because one organisation achieved it alone. It will be because our communities, our innovators, our clinicians, our businesses choose to shape the future together. So thank you so much. Really a great pleasure to be here tonight and very happy to take questions either now or later. Andy.